are October, known for the conclusion of Oktoberfest, everything pumpkin related, and of course Halloween. So in keeping with that theme, I've decided to spend this month playing some scary and spooky games. Nothing says your trousers like some good old survival horror action. Now of course, everyone knows your Resident Evils and Silent Hills, but I've chosen to focus on the more unknown / obscure horror titles. Well, for part 1 of my October dive into some survival horror, I've been playing the appropriately titled ObsCure for the PlayStation 2 and original Xbox, which was released back in 2004. ObsCure opens up like your typical late 90s teen horror flick, complete with Sum 41's Still Waiting. Which I've of course removed for copyright. Much better. The game follows protagonists Josh, Shannon, Kenny, Stan, Mr. Garrison? Okay, I lie. Mr. Garrison, while is actually in the game, is not unfortunately a playable character, and your last option instead is Ashley. No, this Ashley. Each of the main characters is your cliché teen horror stereotype. We have everything here from the jock and stoner to the nerd outcast and cheerleader. However, it certainly seems to me that this is done on purpose. The story begins with Kenny chasing down his stolen backpack and being led astray to the dark depths of the school. Here he meets fellow student Dan, where they come upon the horrors that lurk down below. This leads to the remaining Breakfast Club crew trying to find Kenny, as well as unravel the mysteries of the monsters roaming the school grounds, the dark past of the teachers, and ultimately escaping before curfew. Those familiar with the movie The Faculty will certainly draw lots of parallels with the plot of this game. ObsCure is your typical survivor horror game from the early 2000s, but there are 2 elements that set it apart from the crowd. Firstly, it introduces co-op play where you and a friend can partake in the journey together. Now, unfortunately I couldn't test this out. I did try to ask my girlfriend.
Oh, hell no!
From what I gather, it seems that player 1 still has control of the camera, while player 2 has full control within that boundary. Truthfully though, if you're like me and forced to go solo, the AI is thankfully a fairly competent companion. Secondly, ObsCure uses light as an additional weapon in your arsenal. There are undoubtedly the survival horror staples like the baseball bat, pistol and shotgun, but here at Leaf More High, both natural and artificial light can be used to hurt and perturb your enemies. If you got some handy sticky tape, you can attach that flashlight to your gun for some added extra damage. Similarly, windows can be broken to let additional light in and assist with swarms of enemies. I'm not gonna lie, I especially enjoyed unleashing my teenage angst here by smashing up every window, vending machine and glass cabinet I came by.
Ow!
Whoops, sorry Shannon. We're not engaging in needless ubiquitous public vandalism, you'll be fighting monsters, solving puzzles, and exploring the ominous school grounds. The combat is actually a lot of fun. This tends to be a weak spot with a lot of survival horror games of this era, but ObsCure shines bright here. Boosting your flashlight while shooting enemies, or making a dash to bust some windows for some bonus damage and protection feels good. The Breakfast Club can absolutely hold themselves in a fight, and it was nice to see some variation, albeit ultimately pointless perks between the characters, but I can appreciate the effort that went in to distinguish party members. When it comes to the game's puzzles, the more brainiac of gamers won't enjoy the simplistic tasks on offer, although I can definitely admire the lack of overly complex challenges. You know, the one where I have to get the coat hanger, to fish a medallion out of a payphone, to put in the statue that gives me the gem that unlocks the fountain. If that's the kind of brain teaser you're after, ObsCure sadly won't feel that need. Lastly, you can't talk about a survival horror game without examining the horror aspect, and this is where ObsCure unfortunately stumbles. It does have its eerie moments, creepy locales and jump scares, as well as exploring the scariest place known to man. Now I'll admit, all of this has to do with reviewing a horror game that was released in the early 2000s, and to quote Bart Simpson,
It's pretty tame by today's standards.
ObsCure tries really hard to build a tense atmosphere, with distant groans, spooky chanting, and frankly interesting enemies, but it didn't really scare or unease me, even though I played alone in a dark room with the headphones turned up to 11. I found the game's resources to be plentiful, the enemies a breeze, and my trusty AI companion always by my side. These factors don't necessarily detract from what is really a good game, but prevent it from being a scary one. At the end though, I really did enjoy it, clean trousers and all. I can definitely see this being a blast to play with a friend, if you can find one.
Okay, it's recorded.
Hey, thank you for watching, and absolutely leave me a comment below with your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like, checking out the rest of my channel, and subscribing for more. Thanks again, and take care.